Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. Today, we are unpacking an absolutely fascinating piece of cumbia rap by Americo Salazar Jr. titled Nadien Me Entiende, which literally translates to No One Understands Me. It's this incredibly raw, genre-bending track that mixes heavy beats, profound cultural identity, and, wait for it, renewable energy policy. Yeah, you heard that right. Trust me, it's going to be quite a trip.
Right off the bat, we hit this central thesis. Nadie me comprende, esa es la razón. No one understands me, that is the reason. It immediately makes you wonder, right? I mean, why does a veteran artist, a guy who has literally spent decades pouring his soul out into hundreds of songs, feel so completely isolated from the world around him? What exactly is he seeing that the rest of us just aren't picking up on?
Section 1. El Rey Incomprendido, the Misunderstood King. Salazar doesn't just feel ignored here, he feels profoundly alienated. He declares in the lyrics that the king has arrived, yet he finds himself in a world that absolutely refuses to accept him. Just look at the heavy labels society has thrown at him over the years. Loco for crazy, extraño for strange, un ser diferente, a different being altogether. They call him a cagalo, a screw-up, and a cabezón, stubborn. But there's a real twist here. He wears these insults like armor. Instead of letting them break him down, he views himself as the absolute only one who thinks differently in a world that is just totally obsessed with conformity. To explain this reality, he gives us this incredibly vivid image. Mi mente es un laberinto lleno de verdad. My mind is a maze full of truth. He navigates this intense isolation proudly, describing himself as a stubborn, marihuano Mexchikano, walking through the shadows just seeking clarity. He says he's going all over the world, but this lyric shows us that the most intense journey, well, that's happening right inside his own complex mind. Section 2. Dos banderas, un alma. Two flags, one soul. Now, what's really interesting here is how we start to decode the intense dual Mexican-American identity that fuels his entire artistic engine. Salazar breaks down his spiritual and cultural DNA for us perfectly. He calls it his sangre bien mezclada, his well-mixed blood. Imagine it split perfectly in half, right? On the inside, he is Txalteca, deeply rooted in indigenous Mexican ancestry. But on the outside, in how the modern world interacts with him every single day, he's Chicano. It's a profound, sometimes deeply conflicting duality of everyday existence. Let's actually weigh these intense forces against each other for a second. On one side, you have La Bandera Estrellada, the star-spangled banner of his brothers in El Norte, the United States. And on the flip side, he identifies as a firme Mexicano from El Sur. You know, society constantly pressures individuals like him to pick a side, to define themselves as just one simple thing. But he argues that his heart and his bones were formed by two distinct worlds, combining to create one single, beautifully unified song. And that brings us to his ultimate defense. Yo soy el puente, no me pueden borrar. I am the bridge, they cannot erase me. He isn't torn between the North and the South, he connects them. Guided by what he proudly calls his espíritu serpiente, his serpent spirit walking between the earth and the seas, he totally refuses to be erased by either side. He is the unbreakable link. But then, things get a little wonderfully weird. Right in the middle of all these deep cultural reflections, the track hits us with a totally cinematic, sci-fi curveball. We literally have to pause and ask, ¿Qué es el codex? What on earth is the codex doing in the middle of a cumbia rap track? Out of absolutely nowhere in the song, we hear this dramatic snippet of dialogue. Es el colgante, lo encontré, el codex lo analizó, es el que buscábamos. It's the pendant I found, the codex analyzed it, it's the one we were looking for. I mean, it feels like a scene ripped straight out of an Indiana Jones movie or some wild sci-fi adventure. But it's actually a brilliant metaphor. This sci-fi interjection represents his relentless, almost mythological search for his ancestral roots everywhere he goes. He's this cosmic explorer looking for the ancient codes of his past. Section 3, 40 años de legado, 40 years of legacy. We've explored the maze of his mind and the depths of his soul, but now let's ground these abstract claims into some real-world metrics. First up, the number 40. Americo Salazar Jr. hasn't just popped up overnight to make these massive claims. This number represents 4 entire decades of unyielding dedication to his art. That's 40 years of surviving in an industry that, as he tells us, didn't always understand him, yet he just kept constantly refining his craft. And this brilliantly illustrates what you can accomplish with that kind of time. 300. That is 300 rolas, 300 songs poured out for the people over those 40 years. It's just a massive creative output. Yet, wildly, after all that work and all those tracks, he notes that people still have the nerve to ask him where he stands, or to try to define him.
Sección 4. Evolución y visión futura. Evolution and future vision.
This brings us to the most surprising pivot in the explainer. Salazar shifts gears completely from his past legacy to a highly specific green energy future. Just look at this stark contrast he paints in lyrics. On the one side, we have the old ways, quemar carbón, burning coal. He points out that the establishment wants to keep relying on these outdated, polluting systems. But on the other side is Americo's vision, el sol, paneles y molinos, the sun, solar panels, and windmills. He frames this green energy revolution not just as a global necessity, but as his own personal and community evolution. He's saying the world is going to see it happen. And he is definitely not just speaking in fun, artistic metaphors here. He drops a highly specific number, 78 million. He claims to have a registered folio, a literal project with vision backed by a $78 million plan for transformation. He wants you to know, point blank, that he isn't just making music in a studio. He is actively planning an expansive physical and economic transformation for his community.
Of course, when you talk with that kind of grand ambition, you're going to get pushback. He addresses his critics head-on with this line. Me llaman soñador como si fuera un insulto, pero los sueños que yo sueño son el fruto del culto. They call me a dreamer as if it were an insult, but the dreams I dream are the fruit of the cult. To mainstream society, calling someone a dreamer is usually a quick way to dismiss them as unrealistic. But to him, these ambitious projects are the sacred, tangible culmination of his deep heritage, his culture, and his art.
So, the crucial point is how he finally resolves this lifelong feeling of alienation we started with. He concludes, Mi madre me entiende, pero yo me entiendo a mí mismo, y con esa ya me basta. My mother understands me, but I understand myself, and that is enough for me. That right there is his true final victory. He realizes he doesn't need the world's validation anymore. Deep self-understanding is the absolute ultimate prize. Finally, he leaves us with this beautiful, grounding dedication. Low and slow, San Antonio te llevo en el corazón, this ground is sacred to all our people. After traveling the complex maze of his mind and mapping out multi-million-dollar future visions for renewable energy, he brings the whole shebang back to his roots, his hometown, and his people. It really leaves you with a profound question. In our own lives, could truly understanding and accepting our own complicated roots be the absolute ultimate key to empowering our future? Think about it.